The universe knows what it is that we need to be doing. The ancients know the things that we need to be doing. And we just need to sometimes just slow things down and just be in the stillness of the quiet, not pulling out and doing all these things that we kind of tap into of wanting to be, and just being able to just be in that stillness and that quiet.
One of the things I think that is a real challenge for so many of us is that we want to be so connected into the divine. We want those answers to descend. We want to be able to surrender. But within ourselves, we're often still very cluttered.
I had so many bad stuff going on in my life that one day it was like, oh, it's actually up to me to save myself. It's actually up to me to listen to myself. Oh, it's actually got to do with me. It's got to do with nobody else.
I believe that everything is not a coincidence. You listen to the guidance. You learn to hear. You learn to connect with your higher power and the land, and you allow for it to lead you. You surrender and you wait for the unfolding. And the unfolding, the unknown, is the most beautiful part of life.
The mind loves to be in control. The ego loves to be in charge, and the ego is very stubborn. So it's a dance to allow and really trust what's showing up and tuning into your heart's desires.
And the body remembers, and I feel like I'll say she, my intuition, my inner child, she's been quietly stored away for so long, but she's always been there, right? It's not like I lost her. It's just that she was silenced.
Hello, beautiful souls. It is Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. But before we dive into today's Wisdom Circle, I have a small request from my heart. If our conversations ever resonate with you or support you on your journey, please subscribe to our channel or like this video. It helps us grow Sacred You, welcome more powerful voices into this space, and keep you connected to everything we share. Thank you so much for walking this path with us, and let us begin with today's conversation. Welcome to another incredible Wisdom Circle, which I'm really excited about. I truly am. I love these topics. Ancient wisdom rising, moon medicine for the modern heart. Really important topic for today, because we've got so much that we can take from our ancient wisdom, and of course the moon and everything that nature provides us. But obviously, we are honoured. I'm Sophia from Sacred You. We are honoured to be able to present these wisdom circles. But I'm going to hand it over to you, Rollie, to introduce yourself and why Ancient Wisdom Rising before we go through these amazing women who are joining us from different parts of the world today. And I will be back at the end. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Sophia. So normally I have my name changed on the screen to Gigadomi Gunhui, which is my spirit name, which means talking feather woman. But I am in the car, and ancient wisdom is something that I have been really working on my own healing path and my own healing journey for probably a good 20 some years, maybe a little longer. But in the last 10 years that I've actually been in my own practice, I actually bring it forward to work with my clients. I work with women with anxiety around the world, and we use the moon medicine and the ancient wisdom and the healing components that have been around for centuries that kind of get brushed off as woo-woo or crazy or like all that other stuff. And so just being able to have a panel full of women who are in that same realm as I am, of like really tapping into what our ancestors have had to say, what our angels or our guides or our spirits or all those things that are around that actually have helped to support us. And as well as crystals and essential oils and all those healing modalities that kind of get brushed off at times. So I really love being able to bring that forward into these conversations and really having the perspectives from other women around the world where they get to share where they are coming from. So I am coming from Canada. I am in a small northeastern Ontario town, and I'm in an even smaller northeastern Ontario town right now in my car because as I was heading home, there's an accident and we haven't been able to get home. So this is where we're at. And I love being able to have these opportunities to speak with other women around the world. And Abby, you're also Canadian. And so you are calling in from Canada as well. And you just happen to be the first person on the screen. So we're going to start with the Canadians first. So we'll start with you, Abby. Share a little bit who you are.
Thanks, Rollie. I'm really happy to be here. So as you heard, I'm Abigail Teixeira, and I am calling in from Treaty 6 territory on Turtle Island, which is also known as Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I am a speaker, I'm a writer, I'm a trauma recovery guide, and a feminine leadership mentor, and a mama for, I had to put in my earbuds because I hear my boys causing absolute chaos outside of the door here. So they're 7 and under, so it's very intense, that's for sure. And the work I do in the world is I support cycle breaking women, especially Black, Indigenous women of color. These are mothers, healers, creatives that are really helping them move out of survival and isolation and into embodied leadership. And how I do this is by creating spaces where they can show up in their full truth, their grief, their wisdom, and to be seen and to be transformed. And yeah, ancient wisdom is something that is very near and dear for me, especially as I've really embarked on this journey of reclamation and reconnection to my ancestral roots and my indigeneity and all the medicine that comes with that. And it's been such an incredible journey. So I'm really excited for this. These conversations are always so juicy within Sacred You. So I know that today is going to be no different. So I'm really excited to chat with you all about this.
Hey, thanks so much, Abby. So, Anick, what about you?
Good morning. Hello, everyone. I'm Anick Patry. I am based in Sydney, Australia. I am originally from Canada as well, from Quebec, Montreal, and I am the founder of the Voice Alchemist Academy. And I help heart-centered entrepreneurs and spiritual leaders to embody their highest lucrative joy and to own their true voice and to own their power, their creative power, really. And I've done a TEDx talk and I've written a chapter in a book, Visionary, it's called. And I'm really excited to be here this morning. It was a last minute call, but I jumped in. So here we go. Let's create some magic, ancient wisdom.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Sara, we'll go with you next. If you want to share who you are and where you're calling in from.
Hello, everyone. Sara Roccisano. I am an author, speaker, and the founder of Embolden Adventures, which is an encouragement platform that inspires personal, professional, and spiritual development and transformation. And part of my transformation story is connecting with nature, connecting with the mystique, the intuition, instead of the ego and the material world that I came from, which was New York City. And so a lot of where my books are going to be talking about this transformational series that will be coming out is working with the wisdom keepers in North America, South America, and Central America and beyond. So I've learned a lot over time from nature. And quite frankly, I'm learning to go with the flow and listening to the intuitive hits. For example, I'm calling in from New England, Connecticut, and I was in the quiet corner of Connecticut. We're the third smallest state in the union, but we have a lot going on. And up in the quiet corner, there's a marker where Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut meet in the woods. And as I was looking for this, I stumbled upon a vortex, a portal, and a stone labyrinth on the way. And here I am yesterday with the sun portal right over my head as I'm standing barefoot in the portal. So I think this is a timely conversation because this literally just happened yesterday. And the comet is coming between the sun and the earth right now. So the tail, the plasma tail has been hitting us. And that was the apex at that time. So I'm very excited about this conversation.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Sara. And Karnie, where are you calling in from? And share a little bit about who you are.
Hello, hello. My name's Karnie and I am calling in from Australia, Melbourne, Australia. So I'm a complex trauma therapist, Reiki master, transpersonal counsellor. I've been working in this realm for probably 28 years ago. And I first began my work with a South American shaman. That was where I was introduced to moon circles. And yeah, life was just never the same from then on in. So now my role is about empowering people to step into their own power and potential and to shut down the limitation programming that they've learned in childhood, rescue the inner child, and step into the capacity that has always been there in their divine soul coding. So yeah, I'm very excited for this one too.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Karnie. And Denise, welcome.
Hi, sorry I've come in late, but yeah, I'll watch it back to hear where everyone's come from. It'll be exciting. I'm from Melbourne, not Melbourne, on the border of Victoria and New South Wales, and I've just got in here. I help people and support people to find themselves, to heal themselves, and I give them all the tools to be able for them to be able to do it for themselves. So on all levels of trauma, even just simple as finding oneself can change our life dramatically. Yeah, I help people self-heal.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Denise. And so one of the things that just because of the way that things have actually happened in today's panel and in the conversations today is there someone who was other than me? Is there anyone else that was actually scheduled to be on tonight, or is everyone? So, Karnie, you're the only who was actually scheduled to be on, and so this is something that is like super interesting to me is that, and we're going to see how this conversation flows and why it's going to flow the way that it's going to flow is because of that ancient wisdom. And this is something that I strongly believe in is that all the people who are here have a message for us, and we're going to be going through, and there's going to be something that somebody, so for those of you who are catching the replay or for those of you who are catching live right now, is that you are going to be hearing something that you're going to be like, oh, that's why Denise was here today. I
Yeah.
needed to hear this particular thing. Or as we're having the conversations, there's going to be some like really interesting theme as to what it is that's going on and what it is that's happened and how those things shifted. And although I was supposed to be on today, I'm in my car. I was not supposed to be in my car. I was supposed to be at home in my room to be able to have this conversation, but I am in the car. And why did this accident happen? Like, why did these things happen? Like, why am I like stuck in Englehart as opposed to North Cobalt? And so it's just that whatever, and I don't know what that reason is at this moment, but hindsight's always 2020, and there's going to be a reason as to why that's why that needed to happen. But the fact that this is happening when that everyone other than Karnie has been added to the panel is that brings that little bit of shift. And I can see Sara like wiggling her fingers. Sara, do you want to jump in on what your thoughts are about the whole cosmic part of this conversation?
Yes, happy to do that. I also was original OG on the panel as well, is what I was trying to say.
Oh, were you? Okay, okay, awesome.
But I will provide perspective. I believe that everything is not a coincidence. That's what Mama Ayahuasca told me when I was working with her in South America and Peru in the Amazon rainforest. One of the important takeaways is there's no such thing as coincidences. Everything's interconnected, and to protect the plants, protect Mother Earth, Pachamama, among other very important lessons that will now be part of the book that I'll be having come out. But 100%, you listen to the guidance. You learn to hear, you learn to connect with your higher power and the land, and you allow for it to lead you. You surrender and you wait for the unfolding. And the unfolding, the unknown, is the most beautiful part of life. And so, yes, I think we're here to make some magic tonight.
Yeah.
And one of those things, so like you said, that unknown is that magic. And it is because this is something that we have all been working with and that we've been, but before you allowed yourself to feel into that magic or into that unknown, how was your response to that before? Like that response of, oh no, I don't know what's going to happen, or where am I going to go, or what am I going to do, or how is this going to happen? And before you actually started to feel into that.
Yeah, so I was raised as an engineer. I went to one of the top engineering schools in the world. And I also have my MBA in finance from one of the top finance universities in the world in New York City. And I was an investment banker on Wall Street and I ran billion-dollar deals. So all that being said requires analytical mind. It requires planning. It requires risk mitigation. It requires, if you veer off course, what's going to happen? There's a plan, there's action, there's the brain working. And there's no sort of forgiveness for anything that veers off course. So there's no room for the magic. And it's all about control and it's all driven by a plan. And yeah, when I got thrusted into the opposite dumbbell of existence, of surrender and unfolding and trusting in the unknown, it was a very hard lesson because your ego is attached to certainty and to figuring it out and to the sense of control. But ultimately, when you realize your power is in surrender, the sky's the limit. So I think that's what it is. Fear is really driving the need for needing to know what's going to happen and having it all planned out. When the actuality is there's so many variables in this universe and so much that our brain can't comprehend that we have to throw it up to the higher power and to nature and to these higher conscious bodies to really show us that, okay, you're a perfectionist. What? Here's even more perfection in a way that's beyond your wildest dreams, that satisfied you beyond what you even thought was possible. And that's ultimately the lesson I think we're all learning in this ascension period that we're in right now.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Sara. Who wants to go next in terms of being able to answer that? Okay, Karnie, go ahead.
Yeah, can I share something funny first? So you said you weren't sure why things had been a bit discombobulated and ended up this way. We've actually just had Uranus enter Taurus, move from Taurus into Gemini, and there's a 7-year cycle, and Uranus is all about expecting the unexpected. Gemini is about communication. So it's funny that those two things have aligned as well too. I just wanted to talk about my delve into spirituality and how the soul answers the call, but the brain will often have that resistance and deflection. So I first began my 28 years ago with a South American shaman, as I said, signed up for a 4-day weekend course, and then went, whoa, what have I done? And started to backpedal. And the day before I was due to arrive, he rang me and said, I'm just ringing up to check whether you're coming. And all I can explain it like is that his voice sang to my soul. And I found myself saying, oh, yes, of course I'll be there. How could you ever think I wouldn't be? Like, it was so bizarre. And I knew on some level that he knew that I was masking. But yeah, my life changed from the moment that I entered that course. And he even said, when you come along, can you bring a vegan plate? I didn't know what a vegan plate was at that point. So I'm like, yeah, of course I can. So I turn up with Ferrero Rocher chocolates, which are anything but vegan. But it's just really funny. I can remember sitting there and closing my eyes. I didn't even know how to meditate, and just peeking up and looking around to see if I was doing it right, the same as everybody else. And all I could feel was this energy from him. It was like so intense that it just cracked something open within my heart. And I sat there and sobbed for 30 minutes about a death that had occurred 20 years ago that I hadn't resolved. And then all of this gratitude just flooded in. And yeah, from that moment on, life's just never been the same. So it's really interesting the way some part of me knew that it was going to change my life forever. And then there was this other, and that was the quickening, that was awakening. And then this is the other part that's, do you really want your life to change that dramatically? Maybe let's put on the brakes. But yeah, the minute I heard his voice, that was it.
Beautiful. I love that. Anick, what about you?
Okay, what is the question?
I always confuse Anick about the question. So, and because nothing is ever planned in terms of our conversation. So the question is about that whole, so one of the things that Sara was talking about was having that awake or that unknown, and how before we actually started going with the flow and figuring things out, is how did that land for you before you started going with the flow and following all the things, like following your gut, your intuition, all those kinds of things? How was that for you? Like, where did that kind of come into play for you?
Yeah, okay. For me, like, I've always been very intuitive and psychic, especially for other people. I see As a little girl, I had a best friend with me 24/7, and I was the only one who could see my best friend. No one else could see that person, and they thought I was a bit cuckoo, and it was always with me. And then I became a teenager, and I shut down my psychic abilities because it was not nurtured and nourished and cultivated, and it came back later on in life in massive change, moving to Australia, which it was not like a move per se. Like, I was coming to Australia because I've heard the call. The land was calling me. I've heard a call, and I had this vision, I had this dream to live on the beach. Coming from Canada in the snow, I hated wearing clothes. I felt suffocating wearing all these things, the hat, the mittens, the boots. I thought I felt trapped. I felt like in a prison. So I was dreaming of living in a bikini, or if I could, I would live naked. And so I had this vision to go and live in a hot country. So just coming here to Australia was the beginning of really entering a portal of unknown, complete unknown. I came hitchhiking on boats. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just listening to the hunch and the passion. And then that's how I find myself. I had a speech impediment. I became a teacher, and then I became a speaker. I find myself on stage in front of 1,000 people from one thing to the other, listening to the guidance. And it applies in so many areas of my life, but it's ongoing because the mind loves to be in control. The ego loves to be in charge, and it's very stubborn. The ego is very stubborn. It's a dance. It's a dance to allow and really trust what's showing up and tuning into your heart's desire. It's a practice. It's something that I do. I've got a new program coming up, realigning with your true desires. So it's completely embodying and practicing to tune into the soul, the heart, and rewiring all that programming of self-doubt and not enoughness and all that shebang that goes in the background in the subconscious mind. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Beautiful. Thanks, Anick. What about you, Abby?
Yeah, I love this discussion around intuition because for me, as a complex trauma survivor, and I've been in recovery from addiction for almost 12 years, something that I had to do very early on was disconnect from my intuition for survival purposes. As a little girl, being in the middle of chaos and abuse and all the things, I remember feeling deeply and being very intuitive, and my body and my nervous system was telling me, basically screaming at me, that certain things that were happening were not okay, but yet the adults around me were telling me that they were. And it was not that bad, that I'm over exaggerating, like all the things, right? And I had to, for survival purposes, really disconnect from myself and my inner knowing and my intuition. And this is something that hasn't come back online for me until the very recent years for myself, as I learned to live life without substances, live life feeling and not being numb and all of that kind of stuff. I had to really reconnect with myself first and foremost, and then I felt like little by little, as I learned and developed that relationship with myself again, I was able to then start to listen and trust what I was feeling and tuning into. And it's been such an incredible journey because the body remembers. And I feel like, I say she, my intuition, my inner child, she's been quietly stored away for so long, but she's always been there, right? It's not like I lost her. It's just that she was silenced. And so coming back online and really learning to trust that the wisdom that comes through without second guessing, without thinking, oh, maybe I'm just making this up, or this is just a coincidence, all of that kind of stuff. It's actually been really interesting. It's really been a joy to really learn and reconnect in that way. And now it's really powerful. I've really worked hard to not second guess myself and really listen in. And when I do, trust it, right? And sometimes I have to chuckle because there are certain synchronicities that happen in life that they're not coincidence, just interesting things, whether it's a word I'm feeling and then suddenly it's everywhere. Or even with my kids, that's probably the training grounds for me that has really expanded everything. Just raising my 4 children and learning to really be a kid with them and show them about their intuition. Like this morning, my daughter and I was starting to prepare to do a despacho. It's part of the Querowinca lineage that I'm initiating into. And she's very curious, wants to understand what I'm doing and all of that kind of stuff. And beforehand, she asked if we could pull an oracle card. And so I brought out one of the deck. I got her to choose which card deck she wanted to pull from. And then we did some smudging, and then I brought out the deck. And I told her, because I noticed the other time when we did this, she second guessed herself, because I laid out the cards and I saw that she went for one of them and then she changed her mind. And so before I pulled them out again and just laid them out for her, I told her, I was like, whichever card pulls or speaks to you first, like the one that you're first attracted to, that's the card. I'm like, don't second guess yourself. I'm like, that's your intuition. It's telling you that this is what's calling to you. And she's okay. And so, yeah. And so we did this, and then right away she went for that one card, and it was so powerful, so special. As a side note, the card that she pulled was an elder animal. I think it was frog, and it was break generational cycles, which was just really near and dear for me, because I am a cycle breaker in my family and my lineage, and I know that she's carrying that on with me. But just little lessons like that to help her to learn to trust herself when she's making those decisions in something so small, seemingly insignificant, because this is how we build that trust, so that when bigger things happen, you don't second guess yourself. Because oftentimes our intuition and our nervous system know before our mind does. Like, it'll sense danger, or it'll sense things that don't feel right. Or I always use the example of, for whatever reason, choosing to take a different route in the morning to drive somewhere rather than the regular one. And then you find out later on that there was like a huge accident that was like backed up, all of that kind of stuff. It's like those nudges that you get, and trusting those, right? Rather than saying, oh, like I always go this way. Like, why am I thinking this? All that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's been really interesting to be able to learn and rediscover that part of myself, as I'm also teaching and showing my kids what was never, ever taught to me. And that's how I feel that we break cycles and we mend and repair a lot of the brokenness that many of us have inherited that we didn't ask for. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Denise, what about you?
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. They're amazing, and it tweaks things within myself that have come up in my life and where change has happened. But for me, very young, I could just see I would be a real observer of family, of everyone around me. I was the real observer. I was very shy. I wasn't outgoing. I wasn't any of those things. I just seemed to be the observer of life. And so I spent a lot of my life observing everything and questioning. Why? Why does this happen this way? And why do we have to do this way? Especially like going to school. I wasn't into school at all. And it's like, all I want to do is go and sit under the tree, or all I want to go and do is create something. I don't want to sit and do books. So I ended up leaving school quite early. And because I never had that intuition, all of that stuff presented to me. That was never put in front of me, but I knew that I was different from everybody else in my family. I felt like I was that black sheep. I was the one who was always pushing the line. I was the one who always getting in trouble. And its trouble seemed to be the way that I would find the answers. It sounds backwards, but I would get into predicaments that they were my aha moments. Okay, don't do those sort of things because this is the effect it has on me. But that took a lot of years to go, oh, okay, listen to myself. And I think I was in my 30s after I had children, after I had so many bad stuff going on in my life, that one day it was like, oh, it's actually up to me to save myself. It's actually up to me to listen to myself. Oh, it's actually got to do with me. It's got to do with nobody else but me. And for me to, as Abby said, to started really feeling everything and seeing that even though those things happen to me, I'm the one that's carrying them. I'm the one that's making meaning out of it. I'm the one who's deciding how that plays in my life, whether I be the victim, whether I be the victor, whether I can move through it, or I'm just stuck in it. And it just, yeah. And I got into lots of trouble, and even with the law. And Gabby was saying her children are able to see a different side now where my children didn't. And it was like, and it was only after until my children were in their teens and even a bit later that I actually started settling. And I actually started seeing, I suppose to me, it was the truth of everything, the truth of how I behaved, the truth of how I was doing things, and allowing that intuition to really work within me and actually being the reflection of seeing the reflection of myself instead of thinking that, because I grew up with that it's not about you, it's about everybody else. So falling into that and playing into that. So for me, I would say it was in my late 30s, 40s that I actually started realizing that there's more to me and where I fit on this earth, more to me and where I fit in the universe. And then from there, just things started coming forward. And someone else said here about the surrender. I think it was you, Sara. It was about surrender. For me, it was like, oh, just, okay, allow myself to be open to receive the messages that I need, to receive anything that I've got to look at. So for me, it was, and it still is, it's a real surrendering. It's really it's an everyday, it's every moment that we contend with stuff in our life, and that we've got to allow ourselves to be really present and open to receive the message that is there for us. And I think for me, that's allowed many doors to open in the opposite direction now. And working with others has been my purpose. We go and helping others find themselves. And it's not easy and it's not hard, but it's as easy as you want it to be and as hard as you want it to be. It's just, like we say, it's our ego, or to me, it's like the push and pull. And it's, am I letting everybody else pull me in that direction? So therefore I'm out of alignment within myself. Or am I stepping away from that to be in alignment with myself? So it's a real self-responsibility. It's been such a learning for me that everything that I think, say, do, I'm responsible for, and it touches every soul on the universe. Because not only am I single, but I am part of a collective. This is where all that collective thinking comes. We're responsible for that, and are responsible for those actions as well. So it's not a burden, but it allows us to see ourselves in our full selves and to be ourselves, because we are the echo of our ancient, we are the echoes of our ancestors, and without even knowing, we bring that forward. And then we go through stuff and we don't know what it's about. And we fall into things and we go, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. I don't know why I'm doing this. And it's the echoes of our ancient, because they're not healed. Mm-hmm. And we're here to break that, to heal ourselves within that, to actually allow our ancestors to heal themselves. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. So beautiful, Denise. And I love how, and again, going back to those synchronicities, those conversations of how kind of things tied together. And so I was helping, like how I'm on the road is that I was helping someone who needed to move very quickly and very suddenly. And so we were helping get things moved and doing all those things. And where she's moving from was right on the lake. And she said, hey guys, there's a beaver out on the lake. And so my first response to that was like, yay, that means that the lake's going to be breaking up within the next couple of days, because that is our first sign, or at least that has always been my first sign, is that when we see the beaver come up, that means that the ice is breaking open and they're coming to the surface. And so it was like, okay, cool, that means that's getting really close. And then my initial instinct was, like, listening to my intuition, was like, no photos, don't take a picture, just go and watch it. And then so I walked away to go, and because then I did I'm going to go grab my phone, I'm going to take a picture. I came back, the beaver had already gone back under the water by the time that I got to the thing. And so just before we were coming on, it was like, okay, beaver medicine. What is that beaver medicine? And so beaver medicine is the power of persistence, teamwork, and the building of the life that you desire. And so based on the circumstances of what was going on, like that's teamwork and everybody coming together to help this person do what the things that they needed to do so that they can actually move through that life's desire. And so then when I went back and looked at like valuing our experience, so beaver medicine teaches us the importance of being fully present. So Denise said that again. So again, that conversation, those things coming forward, Denise specifically said that whole point about being fully present and in the creative process rather than capturing it. And so it's like just being able to be in that magic. And then going back to what Abby had said when she was talking about her daughter is like she second guessed herself. And so then I'm like, oh, I just want to be able to capture this picture. So I second guessed. My intuition said, no pictures, just watch it, which I did. And then, but as I walked away, then I came back and I believe that it was a female. I don't know if it was a female or not, but I feel that it was a female just based on how she was standing and that she was probably carrying her pups. And so I went, that it was like, no, like that moment was only supposed to be for me to be able to do that. And then when I went back to look at that medicine specifically said, it's about being able to be in that moment and being in that time. And sometimes it's okay to capture those pictures and those moments when we need to, but when our intuition tells us not to, there's a reason for that. And just being able to have that, being able to like just be in that moment and be in that space and just be in this time and space. And that part was really like the excitement of it was that our lake is opening up because we've had a very long winter in our area. Like it's still like we still have snow. And so it's just been that part of, oh, wow, this is really happening and this is going on. And how beautiful that is to be able to just have that moment of this change and everybody coming together to be able to help our friend do the things that she needed to be able to do and have that connection and that experience of just being able to be in this moment and being in this time and just being able to trust that the universe knows what it is that we need to be doing. The ancients know the things that we need to be doing. And we just need to sometimes just slow things down and just be in the stillness of the quiet and not pulling out our phones or not pulling out and doing all these things that we tap into of wanting to be and just being able to just be in that stillness and that quiet. Denise, you unmuted. What did you want to share?
Yeah, like you say, we listen to everything around us, but we have all that wisdom. We have all that ancient wisdom within us. And to bring that forward is allowing ourselves to surrender to everything and to be open to receive it. And when we're open to receive it, then the things happen. It's like something will happen. You go, oh, why is that happening? Like you said, the beaver. That's allowing us to come back to the present moment instead of being flooded with everything else. So it's when we surrender and be open to receive, we get to see it. It shows up for us. The universe will give us what we're asking for. So if I'm saying, I surrender, I want to know everything, then you'll find it'll all just come. And you'll go, and it'll throw you off, and there'll be things that you go, oh no, I don't want to do that. But that's part of it. Even the ugliness of life is part of it. Even the discomfort of it is part of it for us to see ourselves and feel ourselves and know ourselves, because we are the magic. It's not the magic out there. We are the magic. Yeah, I just wanted to put that in.
And it's just so important. Karnie?
Yeah, thanks, Denise, for that. I was just going to say too, one of the things I think that is a real challenge for so many of us is that we want to be so connected into the divine. We want those answers to descend. We want to be able to surrender. But within ourselves, we're often still very cluttered. And, you know, that deep shadow work where you go into yourself and start clearing things away allows you to become a much clearer conduit for spirit to be able to work through. One of the practices that we did with the shaman was incredibly profound. It was really simple. We just sat down on the ground and hands at our solar plexus, right hand on top, left hand underneath, and pulled out the rubbish and put it into the earth to be cleared and cleansed, and then captured something beautiful from nature and replaced the energy. And it was amazing when you walked away after that process, just how much clearer you felt and how answers, descended in so much more quickly.
Beautiful. I love that. Does anybody else have anything more around this conversation or that you guys wanted to tap into? Abby, Anick, or Sara?
I can share.
Abby, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I want to add something. There's something that's coming through in hearing. I think we have to come to a place of, like, I'm really passionate about freedom, liberation, being liberated, being free, all levels, all aspects of our life, to be free. And we really create what we focus on. Where we put our energy, our attention, that really becomes real. And the story we tell ourselves about that particular thing. So I think it's in the spiritual world, in personal development, some people get really attached that you have to do endless healing and constantly look at the shadows and the problems and trying to resolve all of that. And there's something wrong with us. But I completely disagree, since I found that we all have a higher self or super consciousness, whatever you want to call it, a divine within ourselves, a sovereignty. We have this ancient wisdom living in our soul, in our heart, this knowing, this inner knowing.
Okay, Anick just froze. Abby, do you want to step in? Anick will come back in.
Sure. Yeah, my internet has also been a little bit glitchy lately too, so hopefully I don't freeze up either. I was just thinking about how, even though I might have been disconnected to that inner knowing and my intuition growing up, like I said, it was still there. Like, it was still there. There were many instances where I know there was divine intervention in my life, because there's just no other way of explaining it. Like, situations that I was in, dangerous situations that I was in, lots of different things when I look back. And one of the times when really I really felt that presence was, like I mentioned, I'm in recovery from addiction for 11 years, and 11 years ago I hit the kind of my final rock bottom, that I like to call, where I ended up in jail. It was not my first time, but it was my last time. And a week before that incident happened, I was at a place in my life where it was torture, living in this hamster wheel that I was just spiraling in, just deep, dark depression, anxiety, just living Groundhog Day every day, waking up, going to work, thinking about drinking as soon as I got off work, going straight home to drink until I blacked out, and going to, like, passing out, and then waking up. And it was like on and on. And it was just, I can remember opening my eyes at one point, and it was like after a bender, and just opening my eyes, and I just felt I was so disappointed that I was opening my eyes. I was just like, oh, like another day. I was just so exhausted by everything. And I remember thinking, like, to whatever was out there, praying and saying, I wish one day I would wake up and I wouldn't have to feel like this anymore. And I just remember saying that. And I just said, I knew I needed help. I just didn't even know what that even looked like or anything. And I basically asked whatever was out there, please give me, like I need help. I need a sign or something. And then that next weekend was when I ended up in jail. And while that wasn't the answer I would have hoped, I definitely took it as, okay, I'm like, this is my answer. And that's really what led me into stepping into my healing and recovery journey. And so I was grateful for that answer, even though it wasn't what I had hoped. But I knew that in that moment, first of all, I was so relieved that I was still alive, that I hadn't hurt somebody. And I also knew that the path that I was leading was definitely, I was playing with fire. I knew that I wasn't going to get lucky like this again, and that something needed to change. And so that was really the catalyst that allowed for me to really, enter into that journey. And again, I had no clue what to do, what was my first step, how I was going to go about this. I just knew that this was not what I was going to continue. This life wasn't what I was going to continue living, right, in this way, and all of that kind of stuff. And it was just my almost like a coming home kind of moment where I knew that was an answer, that was divine intervention, and that this was giving, I was very lucky in given another chance, right, at life. And I've said this quote in the past, it's something that's really stuck with me. And I truly believe that's what really led me to my life purpose and my life mission, because I didn't go, I like that quote that says, I didn't crawl through the shards of my brokenness to just be ordinary. Right. And so I've overcome a lot in my life, and I continue to overcome a lot. And just because I got rid of the substances doesn't mean that suddenly life was fairy tales and it was all amazing. No, that was actually like the easy part, right? It was like the work that needed to happen afterwards of rebuilding that relationship, that sacred relationship with myself, with spirit, with creator, with my ancestors that have always surrounded me and have protected me. It's just been such it's been a really incredible journey, and it just keeps unfolding, and it just keeps more layers keep coming through. And I really like what Anick had mentioned, because I remember at around the year 4 for me, 3, 4, it was a full-time job healing. Like I was working full-time as a nurse. And then immediately after work, I would go to therapy, group therapies. I would go to EMDR. I'd like all different modalities, like so many different things. And it was exhausting. Like it was exhausting. And I remember one time having a meeting with one of my mentors, and I told her, like, when am I going to be done with this? Like, when am I going to be able to just sit back and just relax and be like, I'm healed, I'm done, I've graduated from this. And she just chuckled, and she gave me a hug, and she just said, and this was a really powerful reframe for me, because she said, you don't have to do this. There's a lot of people that don't get to do this. You get to wake up every day and you get to make the decision to move forward and do this. And also, you also deserve rest, right? You also deserve rest. You also deserve joy, all of those things, right? And that was like the permission that I really needed, that yes, this is a lifelong journey. I discovered that, and this is a lifelong journey, that I've come to terms that there isn't going to be a time when I'm going to say I'm fully healed. I graduated this program and I'm done. I know that this is something that I get to make a decision every single day, every morning, that I'm going to do things differently, right? That I'm going to trust, that I'm going to surrender to certain things that I have no control over, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm also reclaiming rest and joy, because a lot of my ancestors never had the opportunity to have rest and joy and peace, and all the things that they never got to do, I get to now do. And it not only heals me, but it also heals them, right? And they say a woman that heals herself heals 7 generations before her and the 7 in front of her. And I have seen proof of that in my own journey. And it's really powerful to be able to enjoy the things that they didn't get to enjoy. And they're with me. I feel them as I'm enjoying these things, as I'm having new insights and new downloads come through, or new awarenesses. It's just, okay, that makes so much sense. It's like little pieces of the puzzle are starting to build this beautiful scenery that I had no idea what that was going to look like when I first stepped into this journey. Yeah.
That's actually amazing. And so, Sara, like we've got so we've only got a few minutes left to be able to, and then if we have chance, I want to be able to come back and allow Anick to finish off. But Sara, do you want to step in a little bit and share where your perspective on this conversation?
Yes. So I'm hearing a theme. I'm hearing healing, and I'm hearing connection with self and spirit. And I learned a lot from the Wisdom Keepers, and my book goes into the stages of transformation from the Wisdom Keepers and how I personally went through it myself. Diagnostic, cleansing, rebalancing, sealing. And so I think that's what we're going through, right? We're aware. I need to change. I've hit rock bottom. It's time to connect. And then I gotta cleanse, which is the healing part, right? And then the rebalancing of your energy, the reconnection to self, and then the sealing, the energetic sealing, the arcana ceremony, which is what we had. And that's very important, because then there's a stillness now. There's a clarity now. There's a self-love now, and a love for the divine field that gives you what you put out. So if you put out negative vibes and lack of love, you're going to see the field return that to you. It's all about what we manifest. It's an illusion that we live. It's our conscious expression. And so when we learn to rebalance and we're doing the cleansing and we're now in a better situation, we're putting out good now, good energy, and now we're seeing it reciprocated back to us, a divine field. And so I also heard a lot of animal stories and the connection to Mother Earth. And two instances I had this past week, just today is one of them. I was at the brook nearby here where I live, and I was talking to the brook and talking to the land, the wetlands, and I said, "Where are the snakes? I haven't seen snakes in a while. It's now spring where we are in the northern hemisphere. Where are the snakes?" And a few days later, I hear a scream. "Come out! There's a snake!" Huge rat snake, a huge constrictor here in the Northeast. And there it was. We haven't seen a rat snake in decades around here. And there it was waiting in the sunlight for me to find it. And so I got it into the bucket because I no longer have fear of snakes. And I returned it to the spot where I actually asked the brook, "Where is the snake?" Same thing this afternoon. I was sitting near the fireplace at the fire pit, and I looked at the chimney and I said, "Where are the hawks?" The hawks usually sit on top of the chimney. I haven't seen hawks a lot lately. They've been very active a few years past, but I haven't seen them. I saw one yesterday when I was driving, but not many here. And then sure enough, within a few hours, there was a hawk, and the hawk was on top of the chimney eventually. I could show you a picture of it. It's pretty extraordinary. And so there you go. Like the field is alive and well. Mother Nature, Pachamama, ushers that connection. Here's the hawk right here,
Oh, that's
staring down
beautiful.
from the chimney. Yep. And as I mentioned yesterday, I randomly came across a portal. Nothing is random. It was all not coincidence. And there was the sunlight beaming down and blessing me with healing and joy. So if you open yourself up and you ready yourself after the healing and you start reconnecting, nature and the divine field do talk to you. And it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Sara. Anick, do you want to just share, I know we don't have a lot of time left, and the message that you were sharing was just so powerful. And again, there's a reason, but I'm suspecting that it was like just so powerful that it was like, yeah, we're not going to let that slide. So what's like a couple of sentences that you can actually share within this next minute that we have?
Sure. Yeah, I love what Abby and Sara just said, and Denise as well. Yeah, oh, so much wisdom. It is about ancient wisdom. So basically, what I was saying is I've discovered that I have a superpower, have the power. We have the power, and I see my clients over and over manifesting magical, extraordinary things. Once your heart is open, your heart has to open. If your heart is not open, once your consciousness is open, the portal is open. Once you become aware and conscious, you open your heart. That you can create all your desires. You can create when it's in alignment, when you do good to yourself, you do good to people, you have the intention to be at service, you have a loving intention. There is no reason for interference. There is no reasons. And so it's really about, open your heart, wake up in the morning, set your intention. The power of intention. Sara just said she wanted to see a snake. Boom, the snake appeared like Jesus. He had an empty hand. He said, "You're hungry, you want fish in the hand." Boom, fish appeared. Like Jesus was such a badass, such a powerful creator. Not that I'm Christian or Catholic or anything like that. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. I'm fully spiritual. But it's just, he was a magician. He was the most beautiful healer, compassionate magician, manifester in the whole history. And we all have that power. So where do you focus? If you focus on constant healing and the next problem and the next problem and the next what's going wrong, we're going to have more and more of that wrongness and these problems. So it's really a practice. It's a practice to open the heart, set intentions, and focus on what's working, what juices you up, what excites you, what Mother Nature, God gives you every day. Abundance is here 24/7. Become a magnet for it. And so be it.
Woohoo!
Woo, amen.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
By the
I
way,
love it.
here's the snake.
And there's her snake. Beautiful.
Look how huge he is. Yep. So this
That
is
is
real.
absolutely huge. So we're going to have Sophia come back in. And so I really truly love how the conversations just take hold, and how we're able to see from all of us from around the world, and how these conversations affect all of us, and how these different things happen, bringing us all together in this moment in time, exactly the way that it needed to be. And so with 3 of us having been scheduled to come on, but yet we have 6 of us who are here with these messages that are so powerful and so in line with the conversations and how things come together. And so we've brought together so much powerful messages. And my biggest takeaway from this conversation is that reminder of setting that intention out of love and moving away from our fear, and really just being able to allow the universe to do what it needs to do to be able to allow us to have what it is that we desire and what it is that we want. And so I want to thank all of you for that reminder. And for those of you who are watching, and this is a new experience, just try it, just be in it, and just love in that space. And this marks the anniversary of 3 years ago, where holding my grandson, my new grandson, he was born in March, and in May I won a lottery because I was just snuggling with him, and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to support this cause. And then I'm like, I leaned into him as I was snuggling with him and said, you need to like help Nookum get that money into her bank account. And then I just left it at that. And I got the call that said, hey, you won that 50-50 draw for our hospitals. And it was just that, being able to just be in that space. And I know that my son always says, oh my God, like he wasn't your good luck charm, but he really truly was. And this is the anniversary of that from 3 years ago in this month. So yeah, so just absolutely love that reminder, that just put it out there and come from a place of love, and all things come together. So thank you. So Sophia, turning it back over to you.
And thank you for another wonderful conversation. I've been here listening, and so much wisdom on ancient wisdom, nature's wisdom, all the medicines that the universe has provided. I just want to very quickly give a huge shout out to Abby, because I know Abby's got to leave, Anick and Denise for coming in on the last moment. Yes, Rollie, we had cancellations. And I called out to 6 people, and we have 3 beautiful women who are joining us today. So thank you ever so much, because you have enriched this whole conversation, really, this whole wisdom circle. I'm looking forward to when the video comes out and all the content that we will be sharing on all our platforms. So, of course, anyone who is watching the live or the replay, click on these links to connect with these amazing women and reach out to them. And also come and join Sacred You for all of our other wisdom circles. You can join us for free. Check us out at sacredyou.love. We have got so much on offer. Rollie, or Gigarami Gwankwe, is also the facilitator, the host, the guide of our Moon Medicine Tribe. Do you want to tell us very quickly about that in 2 words, Rollie? Tell us a little.
In 2 words, it's transformational is like the easiest way of being able to describe it, is just being able to bring all that magic into our conversations.
Yeah, and it is. I've taken a lot from it and still learning so much more about the moon and all the medicines and everything else that you provide. So I'm grateful. And Karnie and Sara and Denise and Abby and Anick, thank you ever so much. Looking forward to our next wisdom circle. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you so much.